In lesson 3, you're gonna learn how to conjugate verbs. We have 3 different verbs in Japanese, and I'm gonna explain the differences first. So for this, please read page 88 to 90 on your book. Okay, first, I talk about verbs. Okay, we have 3 different types of verbs. They're called verbs, verbs, and irregular verbs. And verbs dictionary forms are the verbs ending with U sound. For example, iku is ending with U sound, and they're called verbs. And this is how you can break into the base and suffix. For example, iku, ik is a verb base, and then u is attached, and this is suffix u. So usually verbs are like this. You have a base and u at the end. Let me introduce the verbs you're gonna learn in this lesson 3. One is to go, iku, iku. And this one is to go back or return, kaeru. But be careful about this one. This is ending with ru, but this is not the ru verb, but u verb. Okay, so memorize this verb as a u verb, not ru verb. Next one is to listen, kiku. To drink, nomu. To speak, hanasu. To read, yomu. So they're the ones you learn in this lesson. All of them are verbs. Now let me talk about verbs. Verbs dictionary forms are ending with ru always. Okay, even though u is at the end, you should consider, ru is the ending for this verb. And they're called verbs because you add suffix ru to the verb base. Verb base for example, taberu is tabe, this part. And then suffix ru is attached to this verb, taberu. This is one of them. To get up, to wake up, okiru, ending with ru. Next one is already learned, to eat, taberu. You did this one. Next one is to sleep, neru. And to watch, to look at, miru. Like this, they're all ending with ru. So that's why it's called ru verbs. And then we have irregular verbs. Irregular verbs has only 2 basically. So one of them is suru, to do, and the other one is to come, kuru. The basis of these verbs changes when you conjugate long forms. So that's why it's called irregular verbs. Okay, this means to come. Okay, but please try to think like this. To come in Japanese is always from the other way, from the other way to here. Okay, so coming from other way to here. And never going the other way. Okay, so this is called kuru. Kuru. And this is one of the suru verbs. Suru means to do, but it could be used for this case to play. To play tennis, play any kind of sports is also with suru. For example, this is tennis suru. Like this, you can attach noun before suru, and then you can conjugate different. You can have different meanings. This is also suru verbs. To study. 勉強する. 勉強 means studying in Japanese, and then we say to do studying. To say to study. 勉強する. There are many verbs like that in Japanese. And this is how to conjugate present tense affirmative forms. They're different. Each verb has a different conjugations. Each one of the three ru verbs, u verbs, irregular verbs. Let me explain them first. For example, ru verb. Let's start with ru verbs because ru verbs conjugations are always the easiest. Okay, for ru verbs like 食べる, you can just drop ru and add mas. This is a conjugation for 食べる. 食べます means I eat. Okay, and it also means future too. I will eat. So when you hear 食べます, it usually means I will eat or I eat sometimes or often. Okay, but this is a polite way to say I eat. Now 飲む becomes different from ru verbs. Drop the final u and I and mas. So 飲む becomes 飲みます. So drop the u and then add I mas. That's the conjugation rules for u verbs. So 飲みます means I drink, I will drink. Irregular verbs. For this, you just have to memorize. There is no rules, so just memorize each verb as a set. する becomes completely different. します still ending with ます but す becomes し. 来る becomes 来ます okay, く becomes き and then ます. So that's why they're called irregular verbs. It usually has difficult conjugations. Now, how do you conjugate negative forms? Okay, it's kind of similar. It is very simple actually. Once you learned how to conjugate present tense affirmative. For example, 食べます becomes 食べません. That's all. And this is how you do. From the verb present affirmative form, ます just becomes ません. So take out ます from present tense and then add ません. And then that's for all the verbs. So, for example, 見る becomes 見ます. This is present tense. And then 見ます becomes 見ません for negative. Irregular verb too. します for する. And します is present tense affirmative. And then negative is しません. So that's how you conjugate present tense affirmative and negative forms. That's the end of verb conjugations.